Hello fellow orchid lovers, it's Danielle here. I know I haven't spoken to you in a while and I do apologize for that. Life's been a little hectic. I know I say that every time when I'm missing for a while, but this time it's really true. Unfortunately, we've been dealing with some sad events, so I haven't really felt like making a video. My Doberman pinscher that I've had for 10 years, she was diagnosed with cancer back in September, so we were able to get 9 more months with her, but just 2 weeks ago we had to put her to sleep, so I haven't really felt in the mood to really talk on camera, as I'm sure you can imagine, so I have been missing and I do apologize for that. But there are quite a few things going on with my collection that I thought maybe you might be interested in, so I'm not really rehearsed. I don't really know what I'm gonna say, but I'm just gonna try to go along with the flow and see how the video turns out. And if it's a bit garbled and confusing, I apologize in advance. But I do have a few of my orchids here. I realized I didn't turn the light on, so let me do that. I have all the ACs going and also the dishwasher, so if you can't hear my voice that well, I do apologize. Vance, it's okay, buddy. Thank you for letting me know, okay? One of the main things that I'm happy about is my beautiful Sheila Tolkien. That spike that I was waiting on has bloomed, and she is beautiful. These flowers have been around for, I would say, about 2.5 weeks now, so it's lasting pretty well. I am trying to keep the temperature in my house more to the cool than the warm side, which is difficult because it has been in the 80s outside consistently. So I'm trying to keep the house no higher than 73. So I put on the ACs as soon as it starts to hover around that number. And that's mostly for my Miltoniopsis because they are very fussy, but I actually found out something about my Miltoniopsis that I'm going to share with you in just a few minutes that may be the reason why they're not so happy. But the Sheila Tolkien's doing good. The new growth is almost completely mature, so I'm looking for signs of another new growth. I haven't seen any yet, but it's got a very decent root system, and the spike is still going strong. So I'm assuming that when the spike starts to die back, that's when it's going to start to push out a new growth. So this is very prominently placed in my house, so every morning when I get up, this is the first thing I see, because I have to say that it's probably one of my favorite blooms in the entire orchid world. I just love it. I think it's so beautiful. I have my Shari Baby in full bloom. This is the first Shari Baby spike I've ever had that has gone to full bloom, and I know a lot of people say that the flowers are very uninspiring and not that pretty, but I have to say, I do think, if I can get it to focus, I do think I kind of like these blooms. I mean, they're not the most amazing blooms I've ever seen, but you know, that touch of like pink and the white, it is kind of pretty. I would say that the chocolate smell is not as pronounced as I was expecting. It is there, but I don't think it's as pronounced as I was expecting, like a really chocolate, you know, smell, very strong. It is stronger in the sunlight, but to me it's more sweet than chocolatey. But there is definitely a little bit of a chocolate fragrance. The second spike that it put up, it doesn't look like it's going to be quite as amazing as that spike, but it does have a relatively mature new growth in here that I'm hoping once it matures, it's gonna put up some spikes. And then there's 2 tiny little new growths that are just starting in there. So hopefully we'll continue to have flowers for a while. The plant does seem healthy, unlike my other Shari Baby. The other Shari Baby that I had fusarium, so we had to do like surgery and treatments and all kinds of stuff. So this one seems healthy, so that's good. My dendrobium, my Latoria dendrobium, my atroviolaceum is still going strong. These blooms had just started opening when I got her 2.5 months ago, and her blooms are still going strong. And I just love them. I love the purple with the green and the white and the spots. And she has a fragrance. It's a little spicy. It's got sweetness to it, but it's more spicy than anything else. And I actually kind of enjoy it. I mean, look at that. That's beautiful. Absolutely love these blooms. Like I said before, it reminds me of the musical Wicked that's on Broadway. Actually, I think it might not be on Broadway anymore. I think it might have ended, but it's got the same colors. She has a new growth here, so she's doing really well. Her root system is doing pretty good too. She's putting out some new roots. As you can see there, those white roots with the green tips. So she's pretty happy in my care, and I'm very happy to have her. She's a welcome addition to my collection, and I just love these. And the fact that they've been around for 2.5 months and show no sign of going anywhere, it's got me tickled pink, I can tell you that much. Another orchid that has had blooms for quite a while is my Nellie Eiler. I'm shocked. I really am. I mean, I am trying to focus on keeping her happy. I'm, you know, watching my temperature gauges in the house and making sure that it hovers at the right time, and I have my fan on at all times just to give her that cool breeze. And you know, I am going out of my way to keep her happy, so maybe that's why she's staying happy. But I mean, she had these spikes when I got her, and I got her 2 months ago, and the blooms were just starting to open when I got her. 2 months later, the bloom spikes are almost completely open, and she's got another bud coming here, but she's still happy. Blooms are healthy, plant is healthy, there's no signs of any distress or unhappiness. I mean, this bloom down here is starting to fade. As you can see, the color is getting more saturated and the petals are going limp. That's how you know. But the plant is very healthy. No browning leaves, no yellowing leaves, no dying back spikes. I thought for sure I was going to kill this thing almost instantly, and I'm keeping her happy, so I'm pretty thrilled about that. My husband, in an attempt to cheer me up, purchased me 2 mini Phalaenopsis, and he did such a good job. He's got such great taste when it comes to flowers. This one is just beautiful. It's really hard to see on camera, but it's got so many different fluorescent colors. It's got like a fluorescent yellow on the tips, it's got pink, it's got purple, I mean, the lip is so vibrant. The leaves, the petals, as you can see, are frilled. Well, maybe you can't see it because it went blurry. Come on. Well, you can kind of see it in a blurry kind of way. There you go. So you see how those petals are like, they've got like frills on them. She's beautiful. I love her. So she has 2 spikes. She has a very healthy root system, very healthy foliage. So hopefully the fact that she's a mini won't mean she'll die in my care, because I have trouble with them. And then the other one that he got me was this one, which is also extremely adorable. It's very yellow, but it's coming through pretty green, it looks like on the video. But she's just got an orange lip and some stripes, and you know, she's pretty healthy too. She was a little more pot bound, her roots, so I'm waiting for them to relax a little bit. But she has 2 bloom spikes as well. Doing really bad with the whole focusing thing, I apologize. This other bloom spike I actually staked because it had like a bend in it. It wasn't completely snapped in 2, so I straightened it out and I staked it to hope that maybe it will be able to still send, you know, the nutrients to these buds, and the buds will carry on. And so far, no blasting, so they might make it. So that's good. She came to me that way. I'm usually responsible for damage to my orchids, but she came to me that way, so she's pretty cute too. So those are my 2 new Phalaenopsis that I'm enjoying. I'll bring you over to the sink and I'll show you what I'm doing with my Miltoniopsis. And I'll try to speak pretty loudly because the dishwasher's right next to the sink. So I have 2 Miltoniopsis and another type of Oncidium in here, and they are being treated for Fusarium. In my last video that I posted, I believe, I mentioned that I was having trouble with my Miltoniopsis. The spikes were dying back, and I just assumed I was doing something wrong, because that's always what I do. I just assume that I'm keeping the house too warm, or something's, you know, not right. But they continued to go downhill no matter what I did. You know, I've been keeping them cooler. I have the fan on. The Nellie Eiler's doing fine. And Nellie Eiler, as far as I'm concerned, is a little bit more picky than a Miltoniopsis. So it's like something's not right. So I decided to cut the big Miltoniopsis, my Andrea West, in half, because she was a decent sized plant. So I figured cutting her in half wouldn't really harm her too much. Well, sure enough. There was purple in her rhizome, and actually there was purple and there was also like rot. So I did some surgery. I pulled her apart. There's a couple, she's in a couple pieces in here. She does have a spike that was dying back that I just left just to see if she will push those blooms, because I do love them so much. And then the other Miltoniopsis that I have, she's in here. As you can see, she's starting to go yellow. Like, there are clear signs that she's also sick, but she's not as big of a plant, so I don't want to cut her apart. I'm just going to treat her for Fusarium as if she had it. And then the other Oncidium, I am pretty sure she has Fusarium as well. So I'm giving them a treatment with the Cleary's 336. And you can Google that if you want to. And we're gonna see what happens. I have had success using that product with some of my others. For instance, this Miltonia up here, she had Fusarium and she was really bad. And yet you see all those beautiful new growths she has. She has, I think, 6 or 7 new growths coming up. So the Fusarium treatment that I did for her really did work. So that's good. So that's what I'm currently doing. I'm just gonna let it sit in there for, you know, probably about an hour, hour and a half, and just let the roots really soak up the product. I typically like to do the treatments outside, but it's so hot outside that I just think that these plants will just wilt because they don't like the heat. So unfortunately I had to do it in here, but it is a stainless steel sink, so I'll clean it really good afterwards and make sure that, you know, any residual, anything residual from this product will not be polluting my house. And yeah, so that's that. Now I have some other plants that I wanted to share with you, some interesting and exciting actually things that are going on. This is one of my new Oncidium types. This is the Eye Candy Penny Candy. Her bloom spike just started to die back, and I've had her for 2.5 months. So her blooms lasted a really long time. She's a very healthy plant. She's only 2 pseudobulbs, but they're nice and plump and thick. And now look, do you see right there? She's got a new growth coming. So I'm really excited. This plant seems to like, you know, my environment and seems to be doing really well. The bloom spike has not started to brown yet, so I haven't cut it. I'm of the mind that if the bloom spike is still green, then there's nutrients in there that the plant can reabsorb, so I don't cut it until it starts to go brown. And I could be wrong about that, but it's just something that I do, and it doesn't seem to harm the plant, so that's what I've been doing. So she's got her little growth there. My Rhynchostylus are going crazy with the roots. Look at that monster of a root right there, and the old roots are branching. She's doing really great. This is the red one. Her leaves are healthy and fleshy and not wrinkled at all. So she's hydrating properly. Like I've said before, they seem to really enjoy water culture. They seem to enjoy having not only constant contact with the water. Some of the older roots did die, and you know, but like I've said before, orchids' roots do die. They die and new ones come. So you know, I'm not too concerned when I see a root die. So some of the older ones have died, but she's put forth such amazing new roots. I think that they really enjoy the constant contact with the water and the constant humidity that the water provides to their root system, because I mean, she's so healthy. This one doesn't seem to have another bloom spike coming, but she's put up 2 new leaves since I've had her. This one's nice and big. This one seems like it's going to be pretty large. It's growing pretty fast. This Rhynchostylus, this is the white with the pink spots. She does have what appears to be the beginnings of another bloom spike in between her leaves. But it's really far in there, and it would be very hard for me to film. So until it starts to poke its way out, I'm not gonna film it. But she also has, you know, developed a bunch of new roots. Let me put her down and turn her around. I don't want to knock anything over. But you can see, those new roots? She's putting out a ton of new roots as well. So she is also very happy with being in water culture and having her roots in contact with the water, and the humidity also for her roots that are not in the water. Something that's really exciting, and I've been wanting to tell you about for a couple of weeks now, is I have a freaking Tolumnia spike. I don't know how this happens. I pretty much, at this point, I have 7 Tolumnias, I think it is, 7 or 8 Tolumnias. And although through the winter they were putting out new growths, no spikes, so I just assumed, all right, you're not gonna get spikes. You know, I just may not have the conditions that are, you know, the type of conditions that Tolumnias need to bloom. And I love the plants so much that I didn't really, I mean, I want Tolumnias blooms, but I love the plants so much that I just came to terms with the fact that I was going to have lovely plants and no blooms. But look at that little surprise right there. I am psyched. So now there's the potential that I could get more. My Tolumnias are going crazy with new growths. You can see there's 2 new growths right there. And most of my Tolumnias have several new growths going right now. So hopefully I'll get some more spikes. But yeah, that was a shocker. And I was really, really thrilled when I saw that. Yeah, so it was a little bright spot for me to see that. This is my Dendrobium. This is my species Dendrobium unisum. So I got this Dendrobium and it had a few canes. This cane, I tried to do the whole winter rest thing. I thought it might bloom. It didn't. But since then, it's put up 2 new growths that are pretty healthy looking. This one's getting pretty tall. This one's getting pretty tall. I had to kind of bunch them together because they're very top heavy because they seem to be growing. I think they probably should be mounted, but I don't do that. So I have to look at alternate means. The root growth on this orchid is like amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. For 2 new growths, they put out a lot of roots. So I'm pretty excited about that. So at least, you know, the plant's healthy. Even though I didn't get blooms like I wanted, I got this plant, you know, mid-winter. So it's not really surprising to me that it didn't bloom. And this is my first deciduous Dendrobium, so don't really quite know what I'm doing with it yet. So I'm just trying to be happy with new growths. My Schilleriana is doing pretty good. If you'll remember when I got her, she had extremely limp leaves. I mean, she was kind of a joke. I was very disappointed with the quality of the plant that I received. But as you can see here, she's getting some new roots. So she is improving. I love her leaves. They're so pretty. This is the first orchid I got with the mottled leaves. And the leaves have perked up and firmed up, so that's good. Like I said, new roots. So she's doing better. And I'm hoping that just means she's gonna put out those new roots and then maybe give me another leaf or something like that. I think maybe she might be too small to even think of her blooming, but I'm not really sure. She's my first Schilleriana. Okay, I'm not gonna put that in there right now because I don't want to break her new roots because I'm trying to film and put her back at the same time. But most of my Phalaenopsis are taking off. I just grabbed this one because it's such a good example of an orchid that is absolutely going crazy with roots right now. I mean, look at that. Insane root porn right now. Look at that. Yep, and then the other side too. she's going crazy. There's a little flower spike possibly starting in there. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, so she didn't have many roots when I got her, or the roots that she had were really crappy. So, I mean, just barely has any roots in that water. But the new roots very shortly are going to be long enough to go down into that water, and then I can lift her up in the vase a little bit more. So yeah, that's pretty much all of my Phalaenopsis. That's what they're doing. And then something else that I haven't shared with you in a while is my vanilla plant. So my vanilla plant, I got it as a whim, and I really, again, didn't know what I was doing. And the first couple of things I tried, I almost killed it. It was a plant that had 2 branches on it. One of the branches died. I had to cut it off. I was keeping it in my bathroom, then it was getting too much light, so then I was keeping it in my bathroom, but then I was keeping it in my shower, and every time I took a shower, I'd spray it down, and it seemed to kind of like that, but I still think it was getting too much light, and not enough water. So, the stem had gotten so dehydrated, the leaves were starting to get translucent and dehydrated. The roots that it had, all the growing tips, died back. So I was like, oh, I'm going to lose this plant. I have to try something else. So I remembered that the plant had been sent to me in moss, and I was trying to think of how I could replicate moss without the organicness of moss. So I took one of these microfiber towels, and I just wrapped the bottom of the stem in the microfiber, and then I put the water here, and the microfiber like leaches the water up, and hello, it has worked. I mean, the stem is so plump. It has a new growth. You can see it right here. This is a new growth that has developed since I started doing that. Every single leaf joint is getting new roots. I mean, yeah, so I found something that this plant likes as far as that's concerned. So she's pretty healthy. I keep her in my kitchen window that gets no direct sun, just indirect sun. And this sits in a basket, and then the vine goes up and it drapes over like a nail in the shelf, because I know that vanilla plants like to drape. They don't like to grow straight up. They like to be able to drape over and hang. And yeah, wow, she has taken off. So I'm really excited that I found something that works for her. Just by trial and error. I'll try this, it didn't work. I'll try this, it didn't work. You may remember also that I have a Vanda that I can't seem to figure out what she likes. I kind of got frustrated and just threw her outside in my tree. I just hung her in my tree, and she actually seems to be doing good. So I'll have to take her inside and show you guys. She's getting new roots. She doesn't really get watered that frequently. We haven't had that much rain. Every once in a while, when I remember, I'll spray her with the hose. But somehow, some way, she's actually not doing that bad. So that's pretty good. So anyways, I was thinking of maybe doing a what's in bloom video, because I do have a fair amount of stuff in bloom. And then I was also thinking of perhaps, in a couple of weeks, when the growing season really starts to get underway, to do a series of videos, like my Cattleyas all in one video with all their new growths and everything like that, and my Phalaenopsis in another. I know that people kind of look down on Phalaenopsis, says, they're kind of pedestrian, but I have to tell you, I'm liking Phalaenopsis orchids more and more. The different varieties now that are available, I mean, this plant is gorgeous, just gorgeous, and these blooms are so rewarding. They last for months. And then if the stem wants to, it will extend, or you can cut it and it will grow another branch. I mean, not to jerk you around, I'm sorry if I am, but this Phalaenopsis I've had for almost a year now, never cut the spike back, and she continues to get more and more blooms on the tip. You see that tip right there? It's getting another bud. I know you can't see it because it's bad lighting, but take my word for it, she's getting another bud. And it just keeps going. The spike just keeps going. So to me, that's a very rewarding plant to have, and I don't find them to be very pedestrian plants. I actually really enjoy them. So anyways, that's what I'm thinking of maybe posting when I can get my act together and actually post something again. So I hope you're all doing well and you're enjoying your summer so far. and I will talk to you all next time.